I'm here with Raven Hernandez, the CEO of Earth Rides, and it's a pleasure to be here with her today. Last week, her company was all the rave in Austin. It was kind of crazy. Even my grandpa and some of my non-energy obsessed friends were talking about Earth Rides because they had a $5 for all rides promotion. And
wow. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that we reached the grandparents. That's amazing.
Yeah, everybody was sharing it on Instagram, and it goes with the name, but Earth Rides gives rides in Teslas and Mackies and Audi e-trons, right?
Yeah, we host a variety of different electric vehicles. That's really the premise, is all EVs all the time, no hybrid, no gas.
Mm-hmm. Great. So in true Zpryme fashion, we're going to jump into a quick speed round. And we're starting with a question: what's something you believe that other people may think is crazy?
There are quite a few beliefs. I won't dive into all of them, but I think one of the beliefs that I hold that should be more common, that isn't as common, is that feeling good every day is achievable. And so it kind of aligns with my feelings about health, that we can all be healthy in a way that really sometimes we don't tap into, or we feel like it's too much work. So, it might be crazy, but you can feel good every day.
I believe that too. And it takes
maybe it's not so crazy, right?
No. Some people might say it, which was the question, but
Yeah.
The second question is, what would you put on a billboard for 7 billion people around the world to see, either an image or phrase?
Yeah, this one, I think the entrepreneur in me is obviously some sort of push for Earth Rides, naturally. But then I think like the second thing, like on a personal note, would be something about just, having to do with positive affirmations. So, you're more intelligent than you are. All of the decisions that you need to make, the answers are within you. Really something that's really motivating in that sense. A lot of people oftentimes look externally for the answers that they hold within themselves, or they look for validation. And so, yeah, the entrepreneur in me is definitely going to push Earth, and then the personal side of me wants to push just positivity in regards to what you can accomplish and who you are.
Exactly. Everybody knows more than they think they do.
Definitely.
And now diving into the main questions that I'm really excited about to learn more about you and Earth Rides is, what's the most common misconception about electric cars that you've ran into?
Yeah, so we run into a lot of these conversations that happen within the car. And, I've done thousands of rides, literally. And so I can tell you firsthand, people get in our vehicles and they have so many questions. And I'd say the top two, they kind of vie for the number one spot. Is one, they're expensive, that they're unattainable, that they're only for, the elite and the wealthy. And then the second would be just complete lack of knowledge around charging and how that all works, and how, again, it's unattainable. So those really compete with the number one spot. And what's great about our drivers is that they're all trained to be able to speak on the specs of the vehicle, as well as how EVs work. And so we can bust some of those myths.
Mm-hmm. Bust the myths. That's amazing. I find it so interesting how large the misconception is around charging, because I think of it as like, what if you had to take your phone or your computer to a gas station and fill it up and charge it with gasoline every time you needed to work it every few days? But instead, plug it into your wall.
Yeah. Just last night, I didn't feel like going to a supercharger, and the vehicle that we had wasn't going to be going out until later in the day today, around noon. And I thought, oh, well, there's a level 2 charger right by my house. I can plug it in. It was actually free. I got over 140 miles overnight. Cost me $0. I just parked the car, walked a block and a half home. And I mean, the simplicity in that, especially for individuals who need to save money, right? Like every dollar counts. Mm-hmm. To be able to plug in your vehicle. And, you know, with the Austin Energy, with their program, it's around $5 or less a month, unlimited charging. That's a lot of savings, you know, and you can find a level 2 charger nearly anywhere in the city, plug in, you know, walk home or go, you know, go to work, run your errands, and then you've got a lot of charge.
Mm-hmm. That is a lot of savings. Wow. So on a CEOs You Should Know iHeartRadio episode, you said that you started Earth Rides to make healthy cool again. Could you expand on this and the impact your company is making?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the conversation around health for me. It always goes back. I know it goes back to that. That's my number one driving passion. You know, oftentimes people look at health as something that subtracts from their life, right? I have to eat this way. I can't eat this way. I have to do this. I can't do that. It's always like, I've got to do this thing that I really don't want to do. I've got to work out. I've got to eat healthy, and I can't eat donuts, and I can't be lazy. And so making it something that's cool and fun and attractive, i.e. electric vehicles, it changes the narrative and the conversation around what health gives you. It really is something that we should be striving to be like. You know, the people in our lives that we look up to should be healthy, whether it be mentally, spiritually, physically. It should be like, that's the cool thing to do, right? Athletes are very healthy in one regard, and they're really cool. So, you know, making it something that's a bit more broad. And then in regards to Earth, you know, we've offset quite a few million grams of carbon emissions. And so by doing that, by, you know, putting EVs into the equation of transportation and offsetting carbon emissions, which, as we all know, transportation is right now the #1 cause of pollution in the US. We're hoping to make a dent in air pollution and, you know, make it to where it's enjoyable to go outside and breathe. And, you know, individuals who have health issues don't have to be checking their phones all day to say, okay, is the air quality okay for me?
Right. There's so many things that make your company unique to other ride shares, and it seems like such a healthy company that I'd love to support, and it seems like it would be great to work for you. So you don't have surge pricing, and you also employ drivers rather than contract them, which goes to your creation of supporting health by creating that security for drivers because they're employees. Could you expand on the drive training process and how you educate drivers about EVs?
Yeah, and Laurel, I love how you said that, you know, providing security leads to health. And not everyone wants to be an employee. You know, we offer that as our first way to get in with us if you don't have your own EV and you're looking for secure employment. But then people who do have their own electric vehicles can drive with us. They do have to go through some pretty stringent background checks and interviews, but they do get on the platform if they meet those. And so, you know, the safety component of that is really important. When it comes to training the drivers, you know, that's the first thing that we do before they ever do a ride is get to know the EV. We spend about 2 hours, and then we've got training modules that they can go back to. And we're working on some really cool modules just for fun learning. As you've been with the company, you still might not know that, you know, after, I mean, you pretty much, it's a learning on the job when it comes to EV component, you know, learning that after 80%, it really doesn't make sense to sit at the charger and little things like that. But we're creating more and more interactive ways to get people to learn more about the cars that they're driving, because that's super important. You know, in our minds, we're selling these vehicles for OEMs. We are truly salesmen because we're behind the wheel. You know, it's either a 7-minute or a 20-minute ride, and we're just being bombarded with so many questions, and we've got to know these cars. So it's been really fun to get to train all these EV experts now who can go out into the community and really speak about it. You know, I had one of the drivers whose family member was totally against EVs. And this individual said, to the family member, have you ever been in one? And of course the answer was no. And so then that employee got to talk about just the fun parts about EVs. And next thing you know, this conversation that kind of started off hostile of, feelings about gas and all the things that happened there turned into a really informative conversation to where now they're going to take a ride on Earth. And we've even, given them ride credits just to go the extra mile and say, hey, check out EVs. They're not so bad.
They're not so bad at all. When I interviewed Carter Prescott, who's the director of electrification at Southern California Edison in California, I asked him about the billboard question. What would he put on a billboard? And he said, everybody go try and test drive an electric vehicle. It's so fun. It's an amazing experience. And just go try and test drive it.
Well, it's just crazy because to me, it's a superior experience. People always ask me how I like driving them, and I akin it to, if I had to get back in a gas car, it would be like having to get in a horse-drawn carriage. That's how it feels. Like, seriously, it feels just like outdated and clunky, and the experience is just so, it lackluster, once you get an EV and it's like, I don't have to brake as much. The inertia and the force of having to do that's really taxing, in my opinion. And so even the braking experience and the screen being right there and the navigation, it's just all such a really smooth and like future way to drive that I'm like, I don't ever want to get in a gas car. I had to drive a U-Haul to Austin when we moved here, and I was just like, this is wild. Like, I can't believe this is what it's like to drive gas cars again.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure interviewing you, and call to action, everybody, check out Earth Rides, download their app. You first launched in Nashville, correct? And you've recently launched in Austin. And make sure to, if you're in a different city, just wait for them to come to your city and support them when they do.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you. You can always schedule ahead in the app to ensure that your driver is on time or book on demand. And we look forward to seeing you on Earth.